right, y'all. Welcome to Mountain Man Dan Live. Thank you very much for tuning in. We are here doing a Save Montana series. We're listening to points of view. We got a new co-host today. You'll meet him in a moment. We're really getting into issues, working on going around in our state, working on issues. We'll talk about whatever our co-host wants to talk about. I got some questions. So please join us and subscribe. Hopefully you like what the hell we're talking about. Was that 15 seconds into it?
Close enough.
Okay, cool. All right, so
You can add some filler.
yeah, we'll fill it. We'll fill it with some.
There you go.
Well, welcome. Yeah, welcome. We're in the Shed Shop studio. That's what we're calling it. Shed Shop studio. Welcome to the show. First co-host ever, Ricky. First name only.
First name only.
First
Can't
name
identify me with my
No, we're not going to assume your identity because we wouldn't do that here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're here. We're talking about Ep.1, how to save Montana. Can we? Do you think it needs saving? What do we feel?
That's a big question.
It is a broad statement question.
I don't know if it quite needs saving yet. I don't know if we're there yet.
Are we going into a certain direction, you feel?
It is being California-fied a little bit.
In what way? What do you think about that one?
I heard someone say this the other day on the chairlift. We are near a ski mountain. For those of you that have never been to Montana, there are a lot of ski mountains, at least in this half of the state. And I was sitting on the chairlift the other day, and a lady was all fired up talking about how she was like, I like that people are moving here, but don't leave somewhere complaining about how you didn't like where you lived and then move here and try and make it like where you used to live.
Right.
And so I think she was making that as like a political statement. I couldn't tell which side of the spectrum she was on.
So I've heard this before, and you never really know if it's political or if it's like
a housing thing,
housing,
or if it's
housing's huge.
Yeah,
huge issue.
Yeah, that is. But with any town, city, state, anywhere that has an influx of money, and we live in a small vacation community,
right?
And so that's going to be, I think, compounded, right? But anytime you have a huge influx of new money coming in, especially in a town like this, most people work in the service industry, and
right.
So even on a good day, you're not pulling in $150,000 a year being a bartender.
No, you're not.
And so if the average rent is, I don't know what it is, but if it's probably got to be like $1,850, $1,600 for a one bedroom.
Probably more, honestly, now.
Yeah, and a house is, I don't think there's a house in town for sale that's under $500,000. I mean, you can't afford that if you're in the service industry, really,
right?
For the most part. And so I think that's the challenge, right? With people, when you have this influx of money from places like California and Texas and Washington and New York, I mean, just anywhere that people are, that's the gift and the curse, I think, of the remote workers. I get to work remote. I technically I do own a company that's based in a different state, and there's reasons for that, and that's where it was started. But I understand, like, that's easy for me, and I appreciate that I'm able to live here.
You're blessed.
Yeah, amen. but it's also, I understand that if you work part-time as a lifty in the winter,
yep,
aka someone who runs the lifts, and then in the summer whatever, our raft guide, like, you can't compete in a market where people are making $200,000 a year as a programmer, as an example. And so it creates this weird kind of dichotomy in terms of, that it obviously drives up housing prices, which is a challenge. So how do you mitigate that? I don't know. The cities.
Yeah. So. That brings me to a point I wanted to make, or ask you about, rather.
Sure.
So we have this issue of housing costs, wages not matching affordability.
Yes.
Do you think, we're in a resort town.
Yes.
Do you believe, or do you see that maybe it's just in those resort towns, like Bozeman, Big Sky, place like that? Or rather, is it kind of spreading throughout the state, meaning like small towns are being affected as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think you get a hyper concentration of it in resort towns, because resort towns inevitably are built to attract that, right? That's how they make their money, right? Is it's people that come here and they're coming here for a certain thing. Right. And you have to build a town that's attractive for that. You have to have nice restaurants. You have to have, good quality services for people, car rentals, vacation rentals, cute things to do with your kids on the weekend. That's what makes a vacation destination town thrive. And so if you inevitably have built that type of environment in your small town, like here, then you are going to attract more people that are interested in that. So it's kind of a catch-22. Whereas if you look at some place like Red Lodge, right? I mean, Red Lodge has some of that, but I'll pick on Red Lodge because I just know that town a little bit. Or even like, let's say, a Browning. Browning's probably a better example, right? Browning's on the other side of the mountains from here, and there's not really anything there, right? It's a small Montana town. Are wealthy people moving there and driving up real estate costs to the point people can't live there? I don't think so. Now, are wealthy individuals still moving there to buy big-ass ranches and maybe kind of running some of those folks out? Yeah, sure, of course. But I think it's more concentrated in towns like this and towns like, outside of, Big Sky and those types of things. Because again, you've built a city based on the demand for that. And so now that people, it's like, oh, hey, honey, we don't have to actually work in New York anymore. And then it's like, well, then let's, pack up our crap and move out west.
And then vote a certain way and change the demographic, change the landscape that we don't want. Montana doesn't want to change. People who grew up here, that's kind of the, not the influence, the pool of it. Like people want stability, and Montana's like the Western theme, I would say.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a super attractant to people,
Yeah.
like the old way of doing things, perhaps, or like more family oriented. Family farms, family first type of mentality.
Yeah, but I think those are two separate things.
Right, yeah, they are.
Right? Like keeping it old, quote unquote, we don't like change, right? Like that.
Well, what's the accent?
That because it when you're talking about, when you use that as a traditional, I think is a traditional way of like describing people don't want stuff to change. I want to keep it the same.
I don't want to call you out, man, but this is a family friendly show.
It is. But to hell with that.
Okay.
And so I mean,
hold on. And for you, those watching, we're drinking apple juice.
It is
apple juice.
It is apple juice. It is. It is apple juice, not made in Kentucky,
and not made from apples.
Not made. I mean, there might be some apple in there.
Heavy pour.
He'll finish it. He'll be fine.
Right.
So, but Dan, I think what you're talking about those is an interesting point, right? So there's change is inevitable, right? Mm-hmm. And that's good and bad.
It's the one constant that exists.
And taxes, as they would say. And death.
Yeah. Three constants.
Three constants. Yeah.
Yep.
But if you don't want, I mean, I see the argument of like, hey, if you have people that move here and are trying to have very, very different political views and want to take like maybe a more conservative traditional town and turn it into like a liberal haven, yes, I see how that could piss a lot of people off.
You're going to get pushback.
Of course. There's gonna be conflicts. Now, if you want to move into a town and say, hey, and I'm not picking on the schools here, but like if you move into a town where it's like, hey, your public education system is 25 years behind the times, that's probably a good change, right? And as an example, or hey, you don't have public transportation that's worth a damn.
Public schools, I'm not a fan of public schools.
Get out of here.
Homeschool your kids, get them out of those places. So they ain't teaching the right things. But that's another topic. We don't need to get in that right now.
Well, we can.
We can get into it, but
my mom's.
It's not on my notes.
I come from a big list. See, now you got me thinking about your damn list. I come from a big family of school teachers, so I
do too, actually. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A couple of aunts, both grandmothers.
Really?
School teachers. So I have nothing against school teachers. I think they're underpaid and they have too much on their plate, which is not their fault. It's the whole system. There's probably too many kids in one class.
Yes.
Situational. Who knows? I don't have kids right now. I don't know.
Not that he knows of.
Well, we don't need to get in that either. It's not on the list.
Going to be happily married in the near future, so let's try and keep it that way.
Just keep it.
Or you be living out here in the what did you call it?
This is the shop shed studio. Is that shed shop studio?
I think you said shed shop.
Shed shop sounds better, I think, but
shed shop.
Put it in the comments.
Studio shed shop.
Studio shed shop. Studio shred shop.
Either way, you will be Shred shop. Oh, it's interesting you say that.
We
And this could be a good time for this. So,
Oh.
because
segue.
because you are,
What is this?
it's a box.
It's a box.
It's a box. So
What's in the box? Can we say that?
what's in the box? If you don't know that, you don't know. So, people on podcasts, I feel like you got to bring the host a gift.
Well, thank you. You didn't
And
need
so
to.
I brought you a gift. So I'll help you set it up here. So I had Mountain Man Dan get me this battery earlier, and he thought I was absolutely losing my
I
mind
thought he was
on
doing
why.
those vape pens,
No, I don't.
Don't
Here,
do
so
drugs.
burn this. That's good for the environment.
I'm not burning this. Put this
So
down here.
what we do is we have this, and he said
my
shred
goodness.
shop. So we take this thing out,
What is this?
and so what we do, we're gonna just get rid of that.
I'll burn that later.
We will burn that later.
Oh,
So-
sweet.
And so I figured since you got a new
So
studio,
the moose mug.
the moose mug, and you'll have to figure out how do you turn this on? Oh, the power button.
Yeah, power.
So it's a little dusty. That's probably Chinese cancer-causing dust. Not that would ever be a thing. So
that's
there
sick.
you go, a new decoration for your shred shop
Wow.
studio.
And I do snowboard. Ricky snowboards. We go way back snowboarding.
That's right. So, I figured
Thank
that
you,
would be a
dude.
nice
This is
little
awesome.
gift for your new
Man,
studio
that's awesome.
space. So there you
Thank
go. Does it change colors? I don't. Oh, look at
We're
that!
going green, man. A mountain man
All right,
Dan Live. We're
let's
going
see.
green.
Is it look? I don't know. I can't tell if it looks better when we're. It probably looks better the other way.
Yeah, I think the other way looks good.
Anyway, so there you go for your first
That's really cool.
podcast studio.
I
I
will
expect
wire
this.
it in.
I expect this to be here in like 5 to 10 years when this is like a really popular thing. And there's like a live
Episode
audience.
1. We don't know. We're going to try to do it every week.
Yeah.
We don't know where this is going to go. It's more of a therapy thing because I am mentally insane. I'll say it here first. I don't really know. Undiagnosed.
See, but that's a good disclaimer. So now whatever we say,
Undiagnosed.
we can get away with. Blue. That's kind of a weird yellow.
Yeah,
I
it's
kind
like
of like the sky blue. Purple. You like the white's cool.
I like it all, man. This is awesome.
Red and green. Let's go with the green.
Yeah, we're going green. It's good. Good for the
So
environment.
anyway, shred.
Shred. This is dope.
Yeah, there you
Who
go.
would you like to name it? I think it needs a name.
It probably does.
Think about it. I'm gonna get to the next question here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I will buy you dinner later.
I heard your fiance's making us dinner.
Yeah. Next. We'll fix that in post.
Leave that in. Don't cut that out.
Okay. So yeah, we kind of mentioned a little bit on like public schools, right?
Yeah.
Segue right into my next question here.
Okay.
Perfect. What are your thoughts on the current local, probably government policies versus like federal policies that affect Montana? What do you think? Because that's a policy. Public schools. You don't have to talk about public schools, but
Yeah. I'm not incredibly involved in the local political scene, to be frank.
okay.
With that said, what I do, I did just sign up and became part of a nonprofit in town called, I believe it's Outdoor Montana,
Cool.
or what Wilderness, Wild. They didn't. Apparently, I'm not a good advocate of their group. Wild Montana. I think it's actually Wild Montana. So
Wild Montana. Okay.
what I found though was really interesting. So I've lived in other states. I've lived in Washington. I've lived in Texas. I lived in Canada for a while. And one of the things I found really interesting, not just about Wild Montana, but also about other people that live here, is that people have a lot of pride in the outdoors.
Right.
And not just pride like, I want to go out and shoot the biggest buck or catch the biggest fish that I can find.
Yeah. People
But
care about.
People care.
Yeah.
And they're, so again, if I butcher this, Wild Montana, sorry.
Even
But
if that's not even your name, we don't.
I'm pretty
know.
sure it is. I'm pretty
Okay.
confident on that one, but
Apologies.
apologies if not. But
Yeah.
either way, what's really fascinating about them and the point of their organization is to manage land and keep land literally wild. Like
Yeah.
the only way you can access it is on foot. No
Is
motorcycles.
it Keep Montana Wild? Is that their slogan, or is that the? Because I've
again,
heard. Okay,
not
never mind.
sure.
Continue.
But it's really great. So I like what they're doing. Right, I kind of met some of the folks that run the organization at a film festival recently, and I saw what they were doing, and it seemed like a really cool organization. So I signed up and I donated a little bit of money to them. Nothing major, but I just found it very interesting. There's a lot of that, not just them, but like the Trail Foundation here in town and other folks like that. There's people that are making real investments to keep Montana wild, right? And so I think that's really interesting, to see that from like a local, because you don't see that in.
Is it? I'm sorry to interrupt, but is it just like money-based driven, or do they do like events? Like, because I don't
Well, I
know,
think
sometimes I get a little nervous with, nonprofits, stuff like that. Throwing money at a problem doesn't really do it for me. You know
well,
what I mean?
I mean that sure, but you have to have
Yeah.
money to rent buses to go down
You gotta
to
have
the
money
Capitol.
to do everything, yeah.
So, well, one of the things that I was just read their magazine the other day. As a matter of fact, they put out a I don't know quarterly magazine, and so your fire okay over there?
Let me stoke it.
All right. Well, I'll keep chatting
Yeah, I
while
will
you're stoking
listen.
the fire. So, one of the things that they do is they use this money to lobby, right? Because you have a lot of you have a lot of people and organizations that have money, and they'll lobby, for what is important to them, which a lot of times is driven by more capital means.
Right.
And if you don't have local, whatever it's nonprofit, NGOs, if you don't have people, kind of fighting the good fight to try and maintain, if someone's not fighting back against the man, if you will, then the man's going to get what he wants.
Man will win every
Man
time.
will win. And so I found it was, anyway, so my point is I found it really interesting about how much, it was really cool to see how much local pride, if you will, that there is in maintaining public outdoor spaces here. So I find that really interesting.
That sounds like a good cause. I like that.
Yeah, I think so. From other, what was the actual question? I forgot.
Is this like policies, federal government policies versus state kind of?
Oh, well, I don't know where the federal and state lines are drawn.
Well, the federal is in a different planet, and kind of the state is kind of doing good things.
Federal government is being run by aliens, I think.
Yeah, I mean, UFOs have been spotted, man. Montana's a hotbed for them right now. They're probably just balloons.
It could be, or they're drones, military drones that are using some technology that we just don't know yet.
Could be, apple juice. Who knows?
Could be apple juice.
But anyway, I like your point about, helping the local, joining these things, maybe creating your own. If you see a problem, start local. I feel is where you need to go. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's it's also it's interesting. When you see there's a lot of reservations in the state of Montana as well, and you still see we still as a country, and this is maybe on a federal and state level, but we still don't do a very good job of taking care of natives in this.
Yeah, and you mentioned Browning earlier. Have you been there recently?
I was there last summer.
I mean, it's kind of a all people. We love all people. It's sad to see some of them in poverty like that because they are struggling a bit, the native people. And you're right. I don't know how we can help, poverty because that is kind of a big problem. The rich poor gap here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's a bigger conversation.
It is. It's
Dan,
a couple generations.
I think I don't, and this is me being a little bit of a skeptical of our government, I'll say.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If I don't get to run for political office because of the statement, so be it. But
we'll cut it out.
No, that's fine. I'm more about being honest. I'm all about it. Is I think that if you don't want people to be better and succeed, then you set up systems that don't actually help those folks get to the next level. And what I mean by that is, it's the whole old school idea of kings and pawns, right? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And so, you look at that in urban schools, you look at that on Indian reservations, you look at that in our education, you look at that in our food system. And a lot of these things, like I just heard that recently that they're going to start putting Lunchables. Lunchables are going to start being part of the federal mandated lunch program for elementary schools.
Everything.
If you've ever, I mean, nothing against the company who, I don't know, Kraft makes those or whatever, that's fine. You make your decisions. But it's like, that is absolute dog shit food. Like, you shouldn't be feeding children that. We did a project a while back where we were working with a company that is making, school districts also use their food programs to make a lot of money.
Right.
And even if, so they're federally subsidized and you have to follow certain rules in order to get the federal subsidies to help support your food programs, but you can still sell these programs. So even if they're selling kids sandwiches or whatever it is for $3 or $4 a day, the schools can still generate revenue off of that, which is really important for a lot of these schools because they use that money to hire extra teachers, get better facilities, buy better books, whatever the case might be. So schools use lunch programs and have traditionally to create revenue for the school. And this company which we won't mention them by name, but they're a fantastic company, and they are bringing good, healthy lunch programs into schools, and they're actually making them more cost effective. So instead of like back in the day, we used to get those tinfoil containers full of pizza, right? Instead of those like cancer-causing pieces of pizza chunk.
Yeah, we'll see the effects, but
but instead of that, you get like homemade sloppy joes, where it's just like ground beef, onion, seasoning on like a good like whole wheat bun. Like that, obviously, in my opinion, is a significantly more healthy thing to feed a child than processed cheese and crackers in an Oreo. But what's crazy is like, and this we talk about policies and how they're, if you don't want people to be healthier, if you don't want people to be smarter, then you set up systems that don't allow them to do that. And so if you look at, even right now in the federal school system, which is really fascinating, we were talking to the chef who's making these meals, and he is not allowed to, because there's a federal mandate in schools where you cannot add added salt, quote unquote, into the children's food. If you make boiled carrots, you literally, it's against federal regulation to put sea salt on them. That is absolutely insane. Now, however, you can give the kids Oreos. You can give them, they're going to start giving them Lunchables, but you can't add sea salt to boiled vegetables. So my point is that system is not set up to actually make us have healthier, smarter, more intelligent children. What it is it's I hate to say it, but it's set up to make Kraft more money.
No, I get your point there.
And that is when you look at that in federal, on federal lands where a lot of Indian reservations or state lands are, it's the same thing. People aren't going out of their way to educate those people about how to get better jobs, how to, you set them up for, you have to,
and push yourself forward, like,
but you have to give people tools to do that.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you don't want those people to actually have better lives, then I feel like we don't do a very good job as a country at a federal level.
Like, the view is kind of like federal government doesn't want these people to have more lives, or like,
and I don't think people state that directly. I think it's so disconnected. It's so far out of
it's full of bureaucracy too. Is something that just gets drowned out with paperwork. Big money like we're not going to name out big companies making Lunchables or whatever coming in. People. It's less money for the school to have that in there, and
I don't believe that the big companies, right?
It's not, they're trying to make.
Well, I already said it's Kraft, right? So I don't believe that like Kraft people are sitting around in boardrooms of Kraft being like, how can we kill children, or how can we have more people have diabetes? I don't think that that's a conversation they're having.
Right.
But the fact that they're driven by shareholder value, and the whole point of their goal, their job is to make their shares worth more money. And how do you do that? You have to sell more food.
Yeah.
And if you're selling
year over year, they need to be more profitable.
Correct. You have to have consistent growth. And if you make food that is literally addicting because it's full of processed sugar and
salt,
and then it's a cycle that it's not necessarily a good long term.
That's why we have the most obese people in the world in our country. It's
correct. We have people that are like starving to death, and then we have people across the street that are dying from obesity. It's quite. We actually don't think we have a major food problem in this country anymore. It's more people dying because they're eating too much junk.
Yeah, it's a food quality intake. It's an intake problem. It's a quality of food they're eating problem.
Correct.
It's a choice problem.
I don't know if it's a choice. I think it's more of that's what's available.
At a cheaper cost.
Food deserts are a real thing. You go into inner city, you can't find fresh vegetables. All you can find is like fried pizza sticks at the local gas station. You don't even have access to good food.
Right. I haven't been to inner city in a while.
But even go out to Browning, right? You drive out of East Glacier and you go through Browning. It's like, I need to stop and get a meal before I hop on the road.
We stopped at the casino there, and the food was not good.
No, and it was all it was probably it's
fried.
Not. Yeah, you can't go get a good like green salad or a grilled chicken breast with roasted veggies and a side of like potatoes.
Yeah, and we're in a place where we grow a lot of good quality food, and that's lost.
I was actually at the grocery store the other day, and it was at a major chain, and I won't say the name, but it was a big chain that's nationwide, and I was looking to. I'm writing a cookbook, Dan.
I know, I saw. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's actually
Ricky is a great chef.
Thanks, Dan.
Our person behind the camera. Do you want to intro yourself?
The producer back there.
The producer is...
We have a producer you can't see. He's sitting... He looks very producer right now. He's got a great cardigan on,
you gotta
rubber
wear glasses.
boots.
He's got director glasses.
He does have director glasses. Let's see. So we'll have
Come
him
say
step
hi.
in.
Come say hi.
There you go.
Okay, there you go.
So he makes the big bucks.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
So I was at a major grocery store the other day, and because I'm writing this cookbook, I've been chatting with a young lady in town who has been a vegan for a long time, and she said that she's going to start eating more fish because she feels like she's not getting enough protein in her vegan diet, and
that
so
is a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to start eating fish and like local eggs, and so she asked me if I had any fish recipes in my cookbook, and I have some crustacean recipes, but I didn't actually have and shellfish, but I didn't have any regular fish recipes yet. Okay. And so I was like, oh. So anyway, I go to the major grocery store.
Yeah, what are they serving?
No, but I went through the deli, or not the deli, but the meat counter, and I went through the frozen section, and I could only find one. I don't love pink fish, so salmon and that sort of things, they're not my favorite. So I was looking for white fish, so tilapia, halibut, cod, etc.
Yeah.
And so I was going through there, and I looked for maybe 10 minutes, and every single piece of fish in that store, mind you, we're in northern Montana. We're a long effing ways from China. Every single one of those pieces of fish had product of China stamped on it. Why?
Whoa.
Why, when we are only we're between two amazing oceans.
Yeah, we're like
not
9
that
hours
far.
from the ocean.
We're a single day's drive from the Pacific Ocean, right? There's companies in town here that I've met specifically that own fishing boats in Alaska that actually import their own food here. And I went to the major national grocery store chain here in town, and there was only one kind of fish, a fish I'd never even heard of, by the way, that was really good.
Do you remember the name?
It was something Barra something.
Xi Jinping.
It wasn't Xi Jinping's fish. But the fact that it was only from China was absolutely mind-blowing. It was like one of them was wild Alaskan caught product of China. So it means they're catching fish in Alaska, shipping it to China to be processed.
That's ridiculous.
And then sending it back here to northern Montana to buy it in the store.
Can you fact check how far it is from Alaska to like a port city in China?
Yeah, just pick
because
Shanghai.
Pacific Ocean's pretty far, but
I'm gonna ask the AI.
Oh gosh.
So, but my point is, Dan, is back to your point, is like, and you work, I do
research. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I do agriculture science-based research.
Correct.
Locally here. Not going to tell you where, but
either way. And so, but it's fascinating to me that we have so much good food in this country. And instead of me being able to buy local seafood in the grocery store, I have to buy that crap from China.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Like, I would almost guarantee, and I don't know for a fact, but if you go down to the local high school here, they're not serving you food grown in Montana. They're probably serving you processed food from a major distributor that was, grown in Missouri, processed in Texas, and then shipped here. Yeah. And so, if you think about, I don't even know how we got on this topic, but
it's just, we're getting shorted here.
Yeah, you got me on my liberal soapbox today.
No, it's not necessarily liberal. I don't think that's a liberal point of view. I feel like quality
traditionally,
of food,
I think it is.
Traditional liberal policies, we don't need to get into the progressive current narrative, but I feel like that's going in a certain direction
which is all just absolutely insane.
It's not in reality. It's not based in reality, but I don't think that's quality. You want quality for your kids. I feel like that's
just anyone.
We don't want to keep getting obese and promote big companies that are making people that way. We don't want to sugar our society. Just sugar is good for you. Fire agrees.
See that?
Nature. We're taking a stand. We're going to talk about it.
Nature. All right. Well, let's talk about it.
All right. So, we're not a big fan of promoting that negativity in the world. We're trying to come up with good solutions here to that's not, I don't think labeling it liberal or conservative or whatever is necessarily helpful.
I agree.
But because that tears us apart even more. People, I feel like we're the farthest apart when people I'm traditionally liberal or I'm traditionally conservative. Oh, I hate you. That's
Well, I think you saw that in the last election, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, it was a lot of hate.
It wasn't even about people's political views or how are we going to fix this country?
Which team are you on?
What are we going to do about the situation in Ukraine? It was about, if you're not on my team, then F you.
Yeah.
And that is a problem in itself.
Yeah, that is the biggest problem, I feel. Well, one of them. The health side of things, I think you're onto something there. I actually would agree with your point on that. But, where do we go from here? What do you think?
I don't know. Do you have more questions?
I'll have a ton more.
Questions. We could just keep riffing on food too.
Food.
I'll talk about
Ricky's
food
doing
day.
A cookbook. Look out for that. It's coming. You want to shout it out?
Ooh, no, I haven't trademarked the name yet, so we better hold off on that. But you can have me back if you want. And when
If you
when
want
the
to come
book's
back,
ready, maybe I can
bring more
some
gifts
food.
like this. You can come
I'll bring you a
anytime
cookbook.
want.
I'll bring you a cookbook.
Okay, that's a better gift.
Yeah, maybe I'll make dinner next time. We'll cook something over that fire right there.
Don't judge our enchiladas later. We're having enchiladas.
Oh, your
So,
fiance's a great cook. I'm not worried
She is
about it.
really. I'm very lucky.
Dan's getting married this summer, by the way. Everybody, big hand for that. I'm
Clap.
excited to go. We could talk about how about relationships. We could jump there. We could jump. We'll have laugh track and post. Dan's getting married this summer. Laugh track.
What a loser.
Does anyone do a podcast with laugh track? Maybe we should bring it back.
Oh, like Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Have you seen it without the laugh track?
Yeah,
It's awful.
yeah. Most of those
It's pretty
sitcoms.
bad to begin. Even with
Okay,
the laugh track,
but
it's pretty bad,
This is
but-
tangent. We're going tangents. I like it. How I Met Your Mother with a laugh track is good.
Yeah, but if you went back and watch Seinfeld without a laugh track, it wouldn't be good either. Seinfeld's an
That's
amazing
true.
television show.
I forgot they had a laugh track.
Yeah, they did.
You know,
It's
forgot.
funny if you haven't seen a TV show with a laugh track in a long time. When you hear it,
Yeah, I like
it's
Seinfeld.
really obvious.
Yeah.
It's like blatantly obvious, and you're just like, "What is this?"
It's funny when I watch Seinfeld. I hate Seinfeld, but I love the the
You don't like
added
Seinfeld?
character. I don't like him.
What?
I just
Like-
So are you Friends guy?
I like Friends, but not. No. I don't.
See, that's
no,
the
I like
deal.
Seinfeld more, obviously, but not.
So you
the
hate Friends
character
less.
Jerry Seinfeld. I don't like in the show.
You like him as a comedian?
I like Kramer. I'm a Kramer man.
Oh, that tracks.
I make that. That tracks a lot.
That tracks. All right, moving on. So, you mentioned.
I did.
That was a good segue. I like old TV shows. Big fan. So we're talking about like local people, whereas we're technically, I don't feel like we're locals. We moved here. Moved here within what was it, like 4 years. When did you move here?
Same.
About 4 years.
I mean, when do you get the local stamp?
Come on, leave it in the comments. When do we get the local stamp? I mean, we moved here before the pandy, so that's pandemic for those of you. who
I
don't
never
call it
heard
that.
pandy before.
I like calling it pandy, man.
That's nice.
Andy
It
Wandy.
gives it kind of a cute little,
It
It
wasn't cute.
I mean,
It was kind of cute.
come on, Dad. It was.
Who's ready for the bird flu? All right, we'll fix that in post.
I like that I hope that all these will fix it in post. Just stay in.
They're gonna stay in.
We'll edit that out. There's no post. There is no post. I don't know how to edit anything.
We currently don't have the budget for post.
They won't be able to hear that because it's going to be. You can't touch it. Can't touch it.
We don't have a budget. Okay, next. Yeah, so yeah, when do we get the...
Sponsors.
We're looking for sponsors.
Sponsors.
If anybody else wants to sponsor the podcast,
I don't even know if they can read the label, but...
if anyone drinks whiskey from here, you can tell what that is. And if you can't, you don't drink enough whiskey if you're a whiskey drinker. That didn't make sense, but you get my point.
This is... Yes, okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Bourbon, 2 years minimum aged.
All right,
Delicious.
so talking about locals.
51% corn. Okay, locals.
Yeah, bourbon is 51% corn. For those of you who don't know, it is not whiskey, it is bourbon if it has 51% corn.
But bourbon whiskey, it is a type
It is
of
a
whiskey.
thing. Up until recently, traditionally, it's been called bourbon. So I took a class on this, but whatever. Don't listen to me, guy who's
I mean, it says
certified.
whiskey on the label.
I know. This
Anyway,
is a recent
get on to your
trend,
questions.
Recent trend.
Get on to your question.
All right, what do you think it means to be a local? And how do you like that local scene? What do what do the people stand for?
It's actually an interesting question. So
Yeah.
I've moved. I used to live in Austin, Texas, and when I moved
course you
there,
did.
there was a lot of the same type of what's the right way to say it? It's the same type of animosity you get from people who have lived there longer than you, where it's like, you're invading my town.
Right.
And I understand that if you do live in a place that's special and you have a certain connection and people that have different views, or they look different, or they dress different, or they like different music, if they move to your town and they try to bring some of that, if you back to your point of like we don't like change, quote unquote, then you then there's a hesitation for that, right? There's pushback against that, and so I saw that in Austin for a long time.
Yeah.
And I lived there for almost a decade, and I saw that, Austin's a very inclusive town, which is very cool. And there's a lot of, good people there and good businesses and lots of really amazing things going on in Austin. But you still, from like quote unquote locals, you still got the eye roll, like, oh, more new people. And I
Right.
think you get that here as well, right? You get that same eye roll of like, oh, more people moving here. It's like you live in paradise. How do you expect people not to move here? So my point
Yeah.
is, okay, so look, where I'm going with that, Dan, is that
Okay.
you asked what makes you a local, right?
And what do you think makes
Yeah,
you local?
yeah. And so I believe that if you become involved in the local community, right, support the local scene. So go to the farmers market and support your local farmers if you like good food, right? You know, myself and the gentleman, our producer behind the camera, right? Like and with help of some other couple people, and he was really the spearhead of this. We started a local event. That's great. You're a little blurry though. So you guys can't see this, but the director is taking selfies of himself taking selfies. That's very meta, as they would say. But he's too. I think he's too close to himself because it looks blurry. He can't sharp focus.
Our producer's a little bit into himself.
I mean, look at those glasses. Focus. Anyway,
definitely not a local behind
so
the camera.
but okay. So how do you become a local? And I think what you have to do is you actually have to get involved in the local scene, and that could be anything. So whatever that could be.
Because I mean, we are in a resort town, so that local scene is not traditionally, broad.
No.
Local.
But you can add to society, right? You can add to the local society
net
by
positive.
Net positive.
What you
Correct.
Want to do.
So if you want to be, I think, a local, like this great sweatshirt from Shred Butt, right? Local artist in town. I like the sweatshirts. I wanted to buy one, right? So his name's Archie Bones, baby. There you go. Good guy.
We'll zoom in on that. Stop taking selfies and take a picture of that sweatshirt.
He's too busy.
All right.
But okay, so your point is like, how do you become a local to get involved in the local scene, right?
And how do you affect change? Get involved in the local scene.
Meet when you go out and about, like meet people. Slow down to like shake their hand, smile, right? Have a conversation with people. Get yourself involved in help. Commute, like I'm a big mountain biker, and so I go out at least a couple times a year with the Trail Foundation, and I help do trail days. Awesome. Right, it's a good way to meet people, but it's like, okay, if I'm going to live here and be a local.
And do you guys build the trails or like maintain them?
We're just maintaining them.
Nice.
I don't think they let us noobs actually do any real building. Right. We did rebuild a corner, but it doesn't sound like much, but holy shit, if you've ever built in the mountain bike trail, building it up a new corner on like a 40% pitch or whatever was absolutely
a workout.
It was a workout.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that, Dan, because you're in the similar boat. Like, how do you think you become a local per se?
Yeah, I feel like get involved locally, kind of help out where you like, like talking with people, but also find your niche, like I'm the guy who wants to get with this group and, promote this or whatever. Not a good example, but my kind of stance is I like to, when I moved here from Nevada, agriculture science degree, I wanted to help local farmers, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm doing research to promote, better food, quality.
You want some nicotine?
I don't do nicotine, actually.
That's good. You shouldn't.
But we're getting into it.
I chewed for
years. You're a couch guy?
So I chewed for years.
Okay.
And then I stopped because chew, I think, is absolutely disgusting.
I've seen the cancer photos.
So I grossed myself out with it. And then over the last couple of months, people have been showing up with these little...
Okay. It's just nicotine, right? Pure nicotine?
Just nicotine.
So that's actually a medicine.
What?
Look it up. It is a medicine. Can you be our fact checker?
It has neuroprotective.
Neuroprotective?
Yeah, so our producer says it has neuroprotective
help prevent Alzheimer's and it's either Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, one of those.
Okay, help prevent Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. I don't know if that's true. But you did the neuroscience stuff back in the day.
So Dan, you asked me to wear my favorite hat and sunglasses. Can we talk about my hat for a while?
Let's talk about Cole brand.
I believe this is a brand from Seattle.
Okay.
But it has these amazing ear flaps, which you can see.
It looks like a Montana hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My little brother.
Your ears are a little bit too big for the flaps.
I have pretty big ears.
Yeah.
And even though I don't have any hair, they're not too big. Like they don't stick out. Like when you.
I'm just saying the flaps are too small. I didn't say your ears were too big.
I thought you were saying my ears are too big.
The flaps are the flaps are just a little bit too small for your ears.
That just covers the top. I mean, that's where it gets cold. The top is where the cold settles, as they say.
I don't know. We're getting out of hand.
Anyway, and then these, I do like my hat. Cole, I believe this is a brand from Seattle.
I think I have one of those.
This is from their wilderness division, as it says. You can see it's insulated on the inside.
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's very comfy. It's very warm. And I also feel like I look kind of like a goober when I wear it. And so...
That's why you wanted to wear it on a TV show thing, YouTube show. We're not on TV. What am I talking about?
I watch YouTube on my TV. I
do too.
Anyway. So big fan of the hat. It's very warm. I do like the look. It matches my Archie Bone sweatshirt.
Yeah, and we're rocking some cool shades as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are great.
These were a gift. I actually don't like these shades at all. They don't really fit my face. So that's why I'm wearing them, because I thought they're funny. So
I mean, you look kind of funny.
I do look kind of funny. Well, that's in general.
I mean, these are functional sunglasses.
Those are like
Check them
mountain
out.
biking.
Give them a try. Put them on. You'll immediately
Okay.
feel like you're going faster.
Like Sonic?
Oh, see, I think you should maybe have those sunglasses. I told you, like immediately you're going faster.
Those are definitely more host
These
sunglasses.
Oh, shades? Well, we're co-hosts.
these do suck.
Co-hosts.
These do suck.
They were a gift.
Here, yeah, give me those back. I lied. You can't have them.
Shout out to Yusha, former.
But all right, so I like that these like
boy.
80s, like or like these early 90s, like total like LA beach sunglasses are coming back. And I bought them because they kind of look ridiculous, and I like ridiculous
they're
things.
almost Pit Viper status, but not quite.
Pit Vipers are a lot. You got to really be,
Right.
put it out there. But these are functional.
Yep.
I never realized that this sunglass shape was so functional. So when you start like flying down a mountain on a bike, or like
Right.
I wore these snowboarding the other day, even like sunglasses like that, the
Yeah.
wind curls behind them. And
Goes
so you
in
get
your
snow,
eyes.
dirt, all of that in your eyes. Because these
fluttering.
wrap around the side, they create like a vortex, I believe, over your face. And so it's almost like, it's not as much as wearing a goggle.
Right.
It doesn't give you that much protection. You still get some dust in your eyes and whatnot. But it's,
just
hell,
normal.
you can stick your head out of the car at 40 miles an hour and be great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I drive like
Should
that.
all dogs get these? So they can stick their head out of the car as well?
I think you still have the gums problem where the gums start
Yeah.
flapping.
My dog is, he just
Did you ever watch the old show on the BBC called Top Gear?
Yeah, I love that show.
Did you ever see?
I
So
like
there was a guy, one of the hosts, Jeremy Clarkson.
Good man, I think, maybe.
I think he's kind of a.
He's kind of a dick. Can we say that?
I think he's kind of a rooster sucker. If you know what I mean by that. Like, I think he's kind of a dickbag.
Well, have you seen Clarkson Farm? No. I'm a big fan of farm shows. I don't know, I like farm shows.
Anyway,
send me farm
whatever.
shows.
Jeremy Clarkson, I don't mean to pick on you, never met you. That's unfair. Point is that
we don't know him.
there's one of the greatest moments of that show. There's this car he's test driving called the Ariel Atom, and it's like a little F1 car for the road. It's got
cool.
And there's no windshield on it when he tests it, and they didn't come with windshields at the time.
Okay.
And he's doing like 140 miles an hour down this straight or something, and he has no face protection, and the wind. They have like slow motion of his face and just everything being sucked back by the wind, and it's one of the funniest. It's one of the greatest TV moments of all time. So my point is, when you have a dog stick your head out the window, I don't think the sunglasses are going to help because you're still going to have the Jeremy Clarkson Ariel Atom effect.
I've seen dog goggles, and I feel like that is a solution. Dog goggles, human goggles. They're like roadster goggles.
I think one of my retirement goals is to have a sweet motorcycle with a sidecar. That has a dog that likes to ride in it.
Yeah.
We used to take our dog inner tube when we were kids.
Wow, that's a
Behind
rare
the boat.
dog that would like to go on that. That's cool.
And the dog liked water, like my
Water
dad a
dog?
lot. So they would just go. The dog would sit in the middle of the inner tube behind the boat, and my dad would kind of like lay on top, to hold the dog in, and they would go inner tubing together.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
Do you have any photos?
I'm sure somewhere.
Okay.
I didn't bring
Show me
them.
later. I want to see.
Remind me. When I come back
Cool.
to promote the cookbook,
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about this.
we're gonna have
cookbook.
food and dog pictures. That's gonna be a good episode.
Yeah, we can get. I might get a projector. I don't know, a little monitor.
Maybe we can put a little shelf for the snowboarder guy. He can
Yeah.
sit back here. That's kind of obnoxious. Maybe we'll put him somewhere else. But
Yeah, I can shelf them.
yeah,
We got room.
all right.
For those of you who can't see, this is beer, 1867, helping white men dance since 1867, and I know that's not mutually exclusive to white men.
Should
it
be
helps
white
all men.
people. No,
White
we can't even say
people.
white. It should just be people.
It should just be people. But
I've definitely,
also it helps women dance.
I've definitely danced. Can you say women anymore? Can you even say
Oh, I don't know what a woman is, Ricky. I have not seen that documentary, so I don't know what.
Let's
a
not
woman
go down
is.
this rabbit hole. We're gonna get this. Will get you canceled.
That's one mark.
We got to have more. We got to have more followers before we start.
We're talking
getting into
about Montana. It's-
the wokeisms.
the apple juice is hitting us. Yeah. So, I liked your hat, I like your glasses, I like your dog story, water dog.
I didn't let you try the hat. You want to try the hat?
No, it's okay.
Oh,
I'm trying to stay anonymous, but we'll fix that in post.
all right. His address will be in the description. His social security number.
I'm moving out this week.
The
The,
date
shed
for his-
will
yeah.
not be here.
The date for your wedding, we'll include that too.
Oh my god.
It's an open invite.
Everybody will be armed, so no, it is not an open invite.
I mean, you could still come. You just got to be armed.
Okay, no.
Can we? Do you
Can
want
we?
to?
I want to talk. I want to talk.
Oh.
I got my notes.
Oh, okay.
Can we talk about my notes?
No.
You're being a mean co-host right now. Ah.
I want to talk about your wedding.
I don't. It's going to be a magical event. Open bar. We're Irish. We like to drink. Half of us are Irish. Then we got an Italian side. Also like to drink.
So, I have a question though. So I have a question.
What's the question?
I want to wear my cowboy hat. But
You
you guys,
can
y'all
wear it-
get married in a church.
You can wear it after the church, I think.
So do I bring it to the church and hold it? I don't know what the rules are there.
Leave it on the bus.
No, I'm not leaving that hat on the bus. That's the most expensive hat I've ever bought.
Uh,
By the way, if you haven't
hold it. You can hold
purchased and this was new to me. So when I lived in Texas, I bought my first
Okay.
cowboy boots. When I moved to Montana, I bought
Yeah.
my first cowboy
I'm
hat.
rocking some Ariats. Oh, can we talk about my favorite hat?
Yeah.
Ariat, made in the USA. I
Is
love
it
this
actually
hat.
made in the USA?
It's made in the USA. Well, I don't know what the boots are. The
Is
hat
that actually made in the USA?
was. I want to say it
I
is.
feel like it's assembled in the USA. We don't do a lot of textiles here.
I hope it is. Maybe not my favorite hat anymore. I like USA stuff. You know, that's why I got USA bottle caps behind.
Yeah. I like that you have a Canadian
Yeah.
Molson.
Isn't that funny? Because Washington's pretty much Canada.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
like
we're
the same
closer,
policies. Yeah, but I got Big Sky Brew in there. Anywho, what were we
Anywho.
talking about?
We were talking about your wedding and hats. Oh, so all right. So talking about cowboy hats. So
Okay.
well, this is. I feel like this fits in the mountain
Yeah,
man
get
den.
in there.
So all right. So when I moved, I traveled to Pakistan for work, and when I go there, Pakistan creates some of the world's most
Did you
beautiful.
bring back some opium?
No,
No, that's Afghanistan.
correct.
One of the stands.
Correct.
I always get confused.
However, you know what? You know what Afghanistan also grows? Don't say terrorists. That's fucked up.
I wasn't going to say terrorist. I was going to say ISIL.
I don't know what that is either.
It's ISIS.
Oh.
It's terrorist.
Either way, I think that they're all over the world. But there's, one of the things about traveling to that part of the world is actually very, if anyone's listening, if you haven't done any international travel, it's very eye-opening.
Yeah,
when
we
you
don't know
travel.
if anybody's going to listen. So
Somebody will. Your mom will, hopefully.
I don't know if I'm going to send it to my mom.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, your dad might listen.
My dad will listen.
So anytime you travel to a country that you have, I'll be very honest about this story.
Yeah.
So the first time I went to Pakistan, I was having nightmares before I went that I was going to end up on some crappy YouTube video with my head getting cut off with a dull
Ooh.
knife. Like, I was very scared because
I wouldn't watch that out of respect for you. I would
appreciate
not watch
that. Don't show it to my mom either.
No, I wouldn't.
But what I was going to say is that we have I think a lot of times we have very misunderstood notions of certain places until we travel there.
Yeah.
The people of Pakistan, I've had very good experiences. They're very lovely human beings. I
Food
work
is
with
really
some
good.
incredibly intelligent young men
Yeah.
over there. And they also happen to be one of the world's top producers of textiles. And so every time I go, one of the guys I work with, one of my business partners there, named Ahmed, who's a great dude.
Are they best well dressed?
So he loves suits.
Oh, awesome.
And so every time I go, I get a new suit, like tailored. And it's cool because you get to actually go into these like fabric markets. Mm-hmm. And they're not like a market you would have here. I mean, they're these
yeah, and this goes back to the Silk Road, man. They have the
thousands,
best things.
thousands of years old.
It's
These amazing little streets where there's hundreds and hundreds of fabric vendors. And so we went, like you go to the silk district, and there's literally tens or if not hundreds of thousands of different pieces, types of silk. Imagine taking like a fabric store, right, like you see in the U.S., but you sparse it out among hundreds of different little tiny little stores that these mainly men run. And you can go through and pick through these, So anyway, you get to go in through, you get to pick your silk, like your suit lining, and then you get to pick the material for the outside, and then you get to pick the color of your stitching, you get to pick your buttons, and you spend all day going around and collecting the different materials you want for your suit. So I have some really amazing suits. So anyway, I had a denim suit made.
That's a humble brag right there.
No, it's just a brag.
Oh, it's just
Wasn't
a sick
humble.
brag?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you've seen my suits, they're amazing, I will say. I only have a couple,
So
but
I hate suits. So I'm like, I can't wear one.
are you
I
really
have
wearing it
to.
at the wedding?
I have to wear a tux.
Oh.
It's fancier than a suit.
All right. So I almost made a joke because we walked into this like
Can't
the
make jokes in
denim
Pakistan?
the denim area, and they had this like the most beautiful, not like this denim.
Do they have a denim barn?
No, it wasn't a barn.
Oh, okay.
But I picked out. I was like, hey, Ahmed, can I? He was gonna make the same suit I did. And I was like, well, can we do denim? And he starts laughing at me. He goes, if you want to. And so I ended up making people like, oh, you're Canadian tuxedo.
Oh, you made one?
I do.
Oh,
It is
please do not wear that to the wedding.
gorgeous. I'm wearing it to your wedding.
Oh my god.
It is absolutely gorgeous. Trust me, it's gorgeous. Anyway, point is, I got the suit made, and then I had a wedding to go to, my little brother's wedding, and when I was living in Texas, and so I decided that I was going to finally buy my first pair of cowboy boots as an adult. I used to have cowboy boots as a kid. I never took them off.
They're
But-
the most comfortable boots.
When they break in. So
Yeah,
I need
that's
to have
implied.
mine like steamed and pushed out a little to the ankle, but that's fine. So I bought this. So when you start going and you start shopping for these things, when you go and buy
Yeah.
like nice clothing,
I got to go buy new ones for the wedding, so
I
check for Pakistan labels.
what did you say? Your hat?
Ariat.
Ariat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Ariat boots, but I
very
went in and
boots.
was like, I'm not gonna look at price tags. I'm just gonna pick the boots I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up spending a couple $100 on some really, really nice boots.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot. So there's so much detail in this stuff. So when I moved to Montana, I had to go to
Yeah.
another wedding and I wanted to wear this suit again. And so I decided I was going to now invest in a very nice cowboy hat. So I went to a great
excellent.
store down the road, and this amazing, lovely woman who runs this outdoor store.
Yeah.
And we spent like 2 hours talking about cowboy hats. I ended up buying.
Okay. How do you talk about cowboy hats for 2 hours?
Well, we start with the basics. You have to understand there's different shapes of cowboy hats, there's different styles.
You can just tell that by looking at them. Of course, there's different shapes of things.
Yeah, but the different shapes are, and I didn't. This is where my ignorance was very obvious.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that different styles of cowboy hats, like boots, you wear to different
Right.
occasions.
Exactly. Yeah, and also different seasons.
Correct.
So yeah.
Didn't know any of that, right? So
Yeah.
like in summer, you would never wear a black felt cowboy hat.
No,
it's
because
entirely
you'll
too
be
hot.
sweating the whole time,
Correct.
and you
That's
will
why
have a horrible
everyone-
time. But
everybody
wintertime,
wears
that's
straw hats.
the perfect hat to wear, because even if it's snowing, you got protection all the way around.
Correct.
And it's warm.
Correct.
It's a good hat.
So, and then this store is fantastic because they'll shape them. So she was saying
Yeah.
one of the hats I really liked didn't match my jaw structure. She was like, this hat doesn't really go with you because of these reasons.
Because your jaw's too beautiful or something.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I learned a lot about cowboy hats at that time, and I ended up buying an amazing cowboy hat that matches my denim suit. Which I
Is
would
it a
wear.
denim cowboy hat?
God no,
Is it? What? Am I going to be surprised?
not just like it's a
Are
really
you
nice
trying
black.
to get best dressed at the wedding?
Yes,
Oh God.
yes.
All right.
They say you can't. You should not dress the guy getting married. So you better have a good suit.
All right. Let's get back on track here. So I really want to get into what attracted you to move to Montana?
Oh, it's a fun story.
Was it a lady?
No,
Was she a nice lady?
no.
Okay.
She was a raving. Oh no, I'm not gonna go there.
Oh,
I've
just
met-
like our producer behind the camera on his phone, texting his mom.
Maybe.
Anywho,
Or he's texting his girlfriend and telling us how terrible the show is.
yeah, this is a bad show.
He's like, why did I sign up for this?
He's laughing hysterically right now.
So when
You're a crazy
I
person.
so I grew up outside Seattle and like kind of in the foothills and grew up racing dirt bikes and building
Rad.
bonfires and shooting guns and hunting and
Would one call you a redneck?
I
Perhaps.
can play the role.
Rednecks are gonna save us. We'll get in that later, but I
right.
want to hear about your growing up.
So I grew up doing all the outdoorsy stuff, and I think subconsciously I had to leave hometown. I just always
Yeah.
felt like I wanted to live somewhere that was warmer.
This is the hero's
Seattle's
journey.
Seattle's very very gray, and that's a real
Yeah.
thing, and so I always wanted to live somewhere
Nirvana,
warmer. And so after I
yeah.
graduated from
Or is that Vancouver? Sorry.
Nirvana's from Seattle, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Once I graduated from University of Washington, I decided that I went on this road trip, kind of like a soul searching road trip, if you will.
That's what you need to do.
Yep. And I ended up going down to Austin, Texas to visit a couple of friends, and I immediately fell in love. And I showed up. I showed up with my car and nothing but my camping gear and like work stuff in the back of my car, and I ended up basically never leaving. And so I went down
Yeah.
on a road trip to Austin, and 8.5 years later, lo and behold, I was still in Austin, Texas. So what I did though is I had an epiphany
I'm
when
listening.
uh,
We're doing refills, but
Yeah,
keep
it's fine.
talking.
apple juice refills.
Apple juice for the people.
So one of the things I realized when I started my company is that I was so hyper focused on my business that I pushed everything else off in my life. I mean, everything from like I wasn't even dating, right? I wasn't taking the
If you were
time.
in Japan, they would call you a salary man.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been nice to actually have a salary at the time instead of being dead broke,
Oh,
but that's
yeah.
fine. And so, early in the pandemic when we all kind of had to, I think the country, the world
You
took
have to call it the pandy.
the pandy.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Good. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
It's my
So-
show, so.
Yeah, that's fair. Early on in the pandy, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
You're being a pansy.
Early on in COVID, I just had I went on a road trip with some buddies, and I kind of had an epiphany after that road trip that I missed this. I missed this. You don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. I missed the outdoors. I missed skiing. I missed, hiking. I missed
getting back to nature.
I missed that. That was a part of my life that's very important to me, and I realized that I was missing it. And so when I finally got back to Texas after this 6-week long road trip, I was sitting there, and it just occurred to me. I was like, I can't, as much as I love the city, and I still spend a fair amount of time in Austin. It's a great place. I realized that there was something in my life that was missing. And so I'm very analytical, so I have an entire spreadsheet built out, this is not a joke, where I broke out all of the different places that I might want to live. And so I looked at ski towns, and I looked at Park City, and I looked here, and I looked in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and I looked in Durango, and all of these things that checked my box. I was looking at places that were affordable, places that had a younger demographic,
for the ladies, yeah.
And so I always had I'd come to Whitefish. Basically, I had come to Whitefish based on a recommendation from my best friend's uncle or cousin, who is a
uncle's cousin,
Montana. Yeah. He's just a cousin. He's a Montana forest ranger, and so what he does, he helps manage Forest Service land. And he had told us, we literally had, my best friend was in a bar drinking, and his cousin was in a separate bar halfway across the country also drinking, and they finally got on the phone together, and they decided this was a good time for them to discuss recommendations for our road trip. So we literally had even scribblier than your notepad.
I write like a doctor.
It's in the side of intelligence.
But to be clear, he is not a doctor.
Yeah, I have not my doctorate.
Medical professional.
I have a bachelor's degree.
So we're driving into Montana in early 2020, and if you know anything about going out and trying to find a camping spot during that time, because that's kind of all you could do.
Yeah, it's rough.
There was nothing available, and so we pull out this.
Stay away.
I'm not joking. We pull out this napkin that's got beer stains on it. This was what Jeremy, my buddy, was riding on in the bar, and we pull this out, and he has all these scribbled notes, and we're literally taking this and we're trying to compare it to maps, and we're Googling these terms that he had.
Napkin?
Yes, because we didn't know we're like, what the hell are these different locations he's talking about? And so we end up finding.
You need his mind to translate.
We end up finding a little place called Pole Bridge, if you're familiar with it, obviously.
I've never heard of it.
And so we Google this, and we're like, we're expecting to find a bridge. By the way, there is no actual Pole Bridge in Pole Bridge, which is kind of funny. But
that is a lie. There is. It's just past the town. It's the bridge to the park.
But it's not actually.
It's a bridge.
Okay, but when you think about
Pole
Bridge,
it's not called Pole Bridge. I get it. Anywho,
so we actually only end up stopping here in town because we needed to re-up on groceries, and we spent the day just kind of walking around town. It was like, wow, this is an amazing little place.
It's very. I hear it's very nice.
We went on our way. We camped up on the near Pole Bridge for a few nights, and then we kept going on our road trip. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got back to Austin, when I was having this kind of inner dialogue with myself about where do I want to move, this area kept popping back up, but I didn't want to just jump to conclusions, if you will. And so I was like, okay, I'll look into other options. And that's why I was looking at Durango and some of these other towns.
Durango's booming now.
Durango's gorgeous. And so anyway, I ended up settling here. Yeah. And so
I think I made the right choice with you having the first guest, because you have so much to say, and it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. No, everything you're saying I like to hear about. This is awesome. And you brought a gift.
I did bring a gift.
And we're drinking apple juice.
So you bring me back.
I'll bring him back. We'll get you in. Can we pencil him in? You don't even do anything on the show.
He's penciled in.
Yeah.
He's penciled in.
When you want to come back, I think at the moment it's
pretty open. How about next week?
For those of you listening, our producers talking gibberish and laughing. I don't know. Anywho, anything else to add to that? Because
it's also, we're close enough to. My family's still in the Seattle area, and so
that's not that far.
No, it's close enough.
Mine's over 1,000 miles away.
So. Nah, it depends how much you like your family.
I love my family, but I had to leave.
Yeah, I get that.
What I mean?
Yeah, I think
similar.
I think it's good for everybody, regardless if you live in paradise. I think it's healthy for everyone to leave, quote unquote, at some point, whether you leave for college or you leave for a job for a while, to see the rest of the world. One of the things
perspective is the most important thing.
Correct. We were going back about the comment I made about Pakistan, and I've been fortunate enough to travel lots of different places in the world. And when you do that, it gives you new perspective, and it's such an important thing. When you meet someone who is, for instance, let's say, okay, so the guys I work with, I'll give you an example. I can't talk about other people because I don't know their perspective. But
Yeah, first name.
I grew up Catholic, and in this country in particular, we have a very negative look at Muslims, right? A lot of the Western world thinks about Muslims as like a total extremist. It's where terrorism comes from. We have these very negative views on that religion.
I mean, we don't see nuns blowing themselves up.
Well, I'm not.
But
I'm not.
No.
So my point is
But,
that when I've gotten to know very well a couple of different people, many people that consider themselves devout Muslims, and they're lovely human beings.
Yeah.
Right. They're very warming and welcoming. My point of all that is that having perspective.
Right.
Is different. So when I see
instead of putting them in a box, negative.
Correct.
That negative box.
Correct. When you have that different perspective, whether it's about a different religion or different peoples or a different race, you start to, like, I always ask myself, we live in a part of the country where you still see racism, and I ask myself, like, okay, I pity those people in a way because I think that they're just naive. They haven't ever actually opportunity. It's like, okay, it's like people, and this is not my perspective, but people will have these racist people in the world, again, will have, let's say, racist views on things. And it's like, okay, well, do you know anyone who's African American? Do you know anyone who's Mexican? And a lot of times they don't, right? They don't actually.
And I don't. Have you been in that situation where you actually talk to people who seem racist? I haven't really had that experience. Like, I've had maybe a few, but you're like, brush it off because that's like one or the few.
Correct.
It's not the many.
Yes. And again, I think that most of those people that have those very narrow views, right? And I believe it's because they have never, their perspective is limited, is what my point was.
Right.
Right. And so when you
go
see
travel.
That's right. It's
Talk
like
to somebody different than you.
Correct. There's a lot of amazing people out there that comes from all different walks of life.
But don't listen to us.
And they're all different. They're all different, races and sexes and religions, and it's like you have these ideas based on maybe preconceived notions that you just don't understand. And so getting out and having those different,
like growing up, if you're told one thing and you don't question that one thing, you're going to believe that most likely, unless you want to challenge it.
Or if you live in a place where those types of perspectives are reinforced through your local community.
It flies here, but not most places.
Correct. I had never been to I lived in Texas for a long time, but I'd never actually been to what they call the South. And so the first time I went to Atlanta, it was amazing to see that culture. Like
I love the South.
The Southern culture is something amazing. New Orleans is amazing. Right? If you've never been there, if you think it's
the food, the music, the people,
the culture, right?
Like very friendly.
Yeah, it's like you live in LA or in rural wherever, Kentucky.
Yeah, people telling you if you live in LA, people are just like, there's human poop on the street. You don't want to live there.
True. Not sure what that has to do with perspective and racism, but yeah.
I don't know either, man. It's like, it is what it is. Yeah. What are you doing over there, bud? All right, let's keep
He's producing. Yeah, he's collecting the big checks.
So
someone's got to do it.
You
wanted some work around here.
Someone's got to do some work around here.
I was actually working today, working on a Sunday. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
It is Palm Sunday for those of you listening and who are Catholic or Christian. It is a day of reflection.
How do you feel about space?
Space?
Yeah.
Like outer space? Or giving somebody space?
The final frontier.
Final frontier.
We get into space. Let me see if I have that in my notes.
Okay, sorry. I keep getting off your notes.
Yeah, it's at the very bottom. There's
okay, here we
Space,
can relate this to Montana. Montana has maybe the most nukes and per capita or whatever. I don't know.
And the most T-Rex skeletons have been found in Montana.
Most T-Rex skeletons.
My 5-year-old
T-Rexes are from space. Nukes can go into space.
My 5-year-old nephew was super excited to find out that
space is relatable. All right, I'll allow it.
Well, what do we think about T-Rex skeletons?
Dude, we need to get you a mic, man.
I mean, dinosaurs.
Our producer's asking about T-Rex skeletons.
I think dinosaurs are absolutely real.
I don't think we need to give him a name. We just call him the producer.
Yeah, the producer.
Our producer.
That's
the cow we suckle from.
The teat.
The teat. The cow. That's
what they are. That's what you get, teats.
We can say teats, right?
I think so.
Okay.
What about dinosaurs and religion? What's the...
It's all related. I mean, dinosaurs gave us oil. We drive our cars.
And that's how I get to church.
That's how we get to church. Yes! That is how we get to church. Unless you drive a Tesla, therefore it comes from coal.
Which is also
Also dinosaurs. Yeah, right. Also dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
So it all goes back. It's all a circle of dinosaur love.
That's sweet,
Yeah.
sweet fossil fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Can we take a break? I have to pee.
Yeah, we're going to pause it, come back, pee.
Thank you for your pee break.